Okay.
Hello, wonderful people. Welcome to another episode of Amongst Friends. I'm Shireen, and I'm here with my guest friend, Victoria Destiny Walker, who is a bright, shiny soul and the owner and founder of Love Your Life Coaching, and really just a woman I connect so deeply with heart to heart. I always enjoy conversing with her. I love her energy and her perspective, and I am so excited about today's conversation. So, how are you, Victoria?
Oh, I'm groovy. I'm so happy to be here with you. Thank you for asking me to join you.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you. And look at how beautiful it is where you are today. Just
It is
thanks
a
for
beautiful day.
sharing the
Yes.
sunshine and the nature.
Uh, Here's my backyard.
Fantastic.
I love it. Mhm.
Mm. So I'm just going to start by asking you what's on your mind today? Where are you? What's going on in your life?
What's going on in my life? Well, I am enjoying where I'm living. The temporary place I'm living, it started out as a personal retreat slash personal adventure. And I just put it out there to the universe that I was looking for a place for a retreat. And then it just turned out that I could stay longer. And I was just going to be here 1 week, and now I'm going to be here for, let's see, February, March, April, 3 months, a total of 3 months. So
Fantastic.
huge gift for me. Yes, it's just beautiful out here. And so I think the thing that's happening for me is that I am continuing to ask myself the most loving question, which is, what does Victoria want? And keep asking myself that question until I have the answer that resonates within my values, within my soul, within my soul path. And then what I'm doing now is leaning into that,
Oh, that
and
sounds exciting.
or putting my toe into the water and seeing how that feels. And then if it continues to resonate, then I just take a step toward. And that's kind of how this happened um, for me here. And
That's exciting. Could
so,
I ask you to move just slightly closer to your mic?
sure, sure.
That way we can hear you a little bit clearer.
Yes. Is that better? Is that better?
Um,
I can turn it up too.
let's turn up
That's
your
my,
mic. Yeah,
yeah. How's that? Is that better?
that is better. That is better.
Okay. Great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so leaning into it.
Yes. Yes.
That's wonderful. I love that feel like, okay, I'm testing it out. I'm going to lean into it. I just get that sense of being embraced. I was like,
Ooh, yes.
um,
Ooh, I like that. That's a good word. And I get to be embracing my own self, my higher self, and you know, giving giving my higher self place, and honoring that. So,
okay, hold on just a minute. We're getting some feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. Let's see if we can get it figured out here.
I'm ready. Let's just start again.
Well, actually, I think we'll just say we're back from that technical, difficult moment, but we're back and we were leaning in,
Yes.
leaning into where we were. So, what else do you want
Yes.
to say about that? Anything?
Yeah, I feel like when I've had lots of different ideas before, and I'll go toward them, and then I realize that my motivation was not really in alignment. For instance, sometimes I have these ideas and they're motivated by the love of money.
Well, I think we all, whether we want to admit it or not, have an
Hmm.
attachment to money. And
Yes.
sometimes we judge ourselves for that, and sometimes we don't. But yeah, actually, when you said earlier, in alignment with your values, I was
Yes.
going to ask if you were comfortable kind of sharing what some of those were, or how you discovered that place where you felt, watch me bobble,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
place where you felt in sync.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think it's like, well, motivation and values are very close together. When I realize what my motivation is, then it really helps me to then connect to my value. So like for instance, when I was just saying, if I move with the motivation of love of money, what's the value behind that?
Mhm.
And so when I have a value behind the love of money, the value being, um, I'm afraid I don't have any money. So that is like, it's maybe that's not a value, but it's a thought process that I hold. So when I try to hold an event or create something that is based on money out of fear of the love of money, that I don't have enough money, then that it doesn't flow.
Right.
If I hold an event out of the love of money, but it's because the value is that I am worth it, that my services are valued, that I heard somebody, I don't remember who it was, who said, when I stop discounting my value, then I will stop discounting my prices. And and so all of that is kind of tied together. My own personal value of how I see myself, my value of what I hold to be true for me, what resonates with me. I have actually pointed right to to the value question. I've I learned an exercise. Somebody shared it with me. I went to a training
Mhm.
probably 20 years ago, and it was with a mediator. And she was helping my staff and I learn how to um, connect with our clients without judgment, with just questions, with and with empathy.
Mm.
So this exercise was about empathy, and she had us write down on little pieces of paper those things that we value the most, things that are most important to us. And so we all wrote those down. She didn't give us any direction except for that. And then we played this game where she recited some kind of a question, and then in our response, like if like she said, if there was a pandemic, okay, we just use that as an example.
Ironic.
Right? If there was a pandemic, you know, which of these things could you let go? And then so we would have to set them aside or crumple them or get rid of them. And she kept asking questions like that. What if there was an emergency? What if there was a flood? What if there was a shift in your life? What if there, was a death in your family? What if there was all of these things, all of these questions? Um, and then we had to keep removing and removing or eliminating and eliminating those things that were important to us. And so what I did is at that time I had three children. No, only two of my kids were at home. One of them was already out of the house. And but what I did is I have three kids, and I wrote each of their names on one piece of paper.
Oh.
Yes. So you can imagine when it got right down to the very end, the three or four things I had left. So I had my parents and I had my three children on my last four pieces of paper. And so when she asked another question, and I had to eliminate one thing, I thought, oh my gosh. So 20 years ago, my parents were in their mid 60s. Now they're in their mid 80s. But in their mid 60s, I'm like, you know what? They're good. They can take care of themselves. Bye bye. I let them go.
Adios.
Right. Adios. And so I just came down to my three children. And so my oldest was out of the house. So I'm like, okay, she can, it's going to be tough for her, but she can take care of herself. Or she will be able to. And then so I had the two that were at home. And then she says, so we're down to two. And she's like, okay, you have to choose again. I'm like, I can't choose again. How am I going to choose between my two children that are at home? And so she says, you have to choose. And
Oh,
so I
what a
tell you
painful
what,
moment.
yeah, it was painful. I was crying. Other people in the group were crying. We were just like, and some people were really mad at her, just like, how can you make us choose, these two things? And nobody knew which, the things, the values that we had in our hands. We were all just struggling with that within ourselves, all by ourselves, but in a group. And so I decided that my middle daughter had enough friends and resources that she could find help and whatever she needs somewhere else. And my son, who has, pretty much led a troubled life, he came out of the womb flipping everybody off. That's kind of his attitude toward life. So I've always had to give kind of extra time and attention to him. And so I let my middle daughter go.
Mm.
And
Once you
anyway,
made the, I'm curious, when you,
yeah.
in that moment after the stroke, when you actually made the choice, did you find a moment of peace, or was it still just tension in you?
I had a bunch of sadness, actually.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of sadness, and then I knew I had made the right decision. And I want to tell you, that little piece of paper, I kept it with me for a long time. I put it in my wallet. I held it with me, and I realized in that moment, so 20 years ago, I'm 60 now, so I was 40 then. So big difference of
Yeah.
where I was in my life. And I realized this is the most important thing to me right now. Of everything else, if I had to choose one thing, being the mother of this troubled child is the most important thing right now that I could do. And that exercise helped me. And I've actually used that. That's like, my short and condensed version of the exercise, of course. But I use that with many of the women that I serve, because what happens is that in different times of your life, you can do this exercise every year, and it may come out differently.
It's true.
But what I learned from the exercise, of course, now, my son wouldn't be the last thing that I hold on to. He's 33 years old. He's on his own. He doesn't need his mommy
Yeah.
anymore. And so things have changed. And as my life changes, as my situation changes, my values tend to be modified. Now, I realize that family, though, is still remains one of my highest values.
Right. As a general concept, the people that
Right.
are comprised in that moment of your family, whoever those may
Yes.
be, that is
Right.
there.
Yes, because sometimes family means my now 12 grandchildren, or almost 12
Yeah.
grandchildren, 11 and one on the way, and my 3 adult children, my parents who are in their mid 80s. And also I have that chosen family as well.
Right.
And that has become very important to me.
So,
Yeah.
so in addition to family, is there another value that you recognize at present that
Yes.
you balance against?
Yes. So the the one common denominator that has been a high value for me for and I would say again, there was about 20 years ago. There's so many things that have shifted in my life about 20 years ago, and this the value of self-care, self-love, more than self-care, self-love, self-adoration, self-honoring. And that's a conversation I keep having with myself, really honestly and truly, every single day.
So give me an example, because you said
Hmm.
self-love, self-adoration, and self-honoring,
Hmm.
and as
Hmm.
you said them, I felt different
Hmm.
vibrations.
Hmm. Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, just talk a little bit. How easy, or where do you give yourself self-adoration?
Okay. Thank you. That's a good question. And that one is actually harder to speak, I think, than self-care. A lot of people say that. It just rolls off the tongue now.
Yeah.
20 years ago, 30 years ago, people are like, you're so selfish. Can't say self-care uh, equal to being selfish. Of course, now it's not like that. People understand that self-care is so important, so valuable.
Mhm.
Um, but self-adoration, that one I think is not as accepted. What I have learned is to love myself. And the way I do that is know more about myself. The more I know about myself, the more I can love about myself. And the more I can look at myself with love and with genuine care and just looking at myself objectively, knowing that I'm always doing the best I can in whatever situation I am and whatever circumstances are around me, I am always doing the best I can. So I just adore myself for that. I'm just like, oh, I just adore you for following your higher self, for listening to yourself. First of all, for listening to myself. I adore myself for listening to myself, because every time I do, that's when I'm in flow. That's when, my life is filled with joy-filled ease. That's my
Nice.
phrase for the year. And so when I listen to myself, when I honor myself, and I can see myself walking that out, I do that leaning in, and then when I step into it, and then I can look at myself with adoration. I can tell myself, you have done a great job. You're doing a great job. Those kinds of things that come so easily to us to say to other people. Those just
We
roll off
do.
our tongue, right?
Yeah. And we mean it.
Hey, yeah,
It's not
yeah,
just
we
lip
do.
service,
Right.
It's like,
Yes.
wow, you're so amazing and so inspiring. And
Yes.
what about those moments when you find yourself in course correction, when you've dipped your toe
Mm-hmm.
in and
Mm-hmm.
you've taken a step, and
Mm-hmm.
you might realize, oh, I thought I was doing this out of listening to myself and self-care, but I realize that's probably
Mm-hmm.
80% true, but there's 20% fear there, and I need to tweak a little bit. And I could be
Right.
just talking myself here because
Oh no. Oh no, you're not. You're talking to everybody. Yes. So yes, course correction. I really love that phrase. Because here's the other thing that I say is it only takes one step to change direction. And I realize that at any moment I can change direction. And I do that a lot because I tend to be spontaneous. And so because I have people in my life, my family, my chosen family, sister circles, and groups that I've created or co-created, retreats. And that's the other thing I know about myself, is that I'm spontaneous. So
yes, you are.
I I try to tell as many people as I can.
Yeah.
Please don't be offended. This is not about you. This is about me. You
This
know,
is how I roll.
right. I tend to change course quickly. And what I realized that's why it's so important to know yourself. So important to share what you know about yourself with other people. Because now that I know how important it is for me to know myself and how important it is for me to share that with other people, the people around me have experienced less and less whiplash.
Victoria induced whiplash.
Right? Because if you can imagine, okay, just a line or a circle that I have created, and now we're co-creating together.
Yeah.
We're locked arm in arm, and like maybe I'm the facilitator, or I'm the leader, or I'm the initiator, or I'm the leader, or what, those kinds of roles that I play. We're locked arm in arm in a circle, and I say, "Oh, just kidding, going left now," right? This is what happens. And so
Oh, hold on. We lost her for a moment. I think she'll be
that,
back.
sorry.
There we go. Okay.
Yes, I am back. I had a phone call that I had to decline. Thank you very much. I turned off my ringer, but it's still working on my, anyway, sorry about that
Yes.
interruption.
Technology is
Yes.
always fun. I'm so grateful for it, allowing us to
Mm-hmm.
do these things, but we just have to be amused at the glitches.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. I'll figure out. That's a good thing. Thank you. This is actually a great opportunity, right? Because we
Yes.
just learned something. There must be some way for me to turn that. No, I could turn off that notification, obviously. So I didn't realize to do that. So, anyways, next time. So, back to the course correction. So, this might be a longer answer than what you're looking for, but
I'm looking
Behi-
for whatever you have.
Thank you. But that's part of my knowing myself, is that yes, I do course correct, and there are times that I do it quickly without checking in with other people. So what I have learned, and I say when that happens, I say to myself with all gentleness, I'm going to let that be a lesson to myself. I'm not going to do it with my finger wagging. Let that be a lesson to yourself. You know, I say, I'm going to let that be a lesson to myself. And then I'm going to reach out to the people that I have locked arms with and say, I'm so sorry. That was so quick. And I didn't share my thought process with you when that was happening. I would like to do that better next time. Um, Sorry, please forgive me. I'm going to do it differently next time. Thank you for your loving patience with me as I learn how to navigate my life locked arm in arm with you. So that is a reoccurring lesson that I keep learning deeper and deeper. So that's kind of that's one part of my course correction. The other part of course correction for me is I lean in, I step in, and then I feel something, I notice something. This is the other thing I say, is I notice what I'm noticing.
Hmm.
Sometimes I don't really know what that is, but there is some kind of discomfort. There's some kind of feeling that's not happy and peppy. I mean, it's the
A
opposite of that.
hesitation.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have conversations with, like, I want to get my own way. That's something that's happening right now for me. So I'll just share this with you.
Okay. I love it.
So I'll just be
Thank you.
open and vulnerable. Okay. I'm right in the middle of considering a course correction. So I invited, I had a retreat last weekend,
Mhm.
and during the weekend, all of this coronavirus uh, restrictions were happening, or the recommendations. CDC changed the guidelines. When I left on my retreat on Thursday, the guideline was cancel any events that have 250 people or more. So I hold a monthly dance, but we have, maybe 40 or 50 women who come to the dance. I'm like, oh, we're totally, way below that marker. And some people were asking me, are we going to hold the dance? I'm like, yeah, we're good,
Why would we
right?
not?
Right. Why would we not? So I posted, yes, we're going to have it. Then I went away for the weekend, and I was all into the retreat and not knowing what was going on the outside world, except for
That is the meaning of retreat, right?
yes, thank you very much. Yes. So, and there was one woman who was in the retreat, and she's a grandmother raising one of her grandsons. And she got an email saying that their school district was closing down. And I'm like, oh, they're going to close early for spring break, just as a preventative method. And her grandson goes to school in Eugene. So I'm like, oh, yeah, Eugene, they're so progressive, they're so awesome of them doing that. So that was my understanding. That's the only information I got, thinking that just the Eugene school system was closed down. And so when I came back after the retreat, boy, my post on our group page that said, yes, we're going to have a dance blew up. Yes. People are like, what do you mean we're having a dance? They're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah. Welcome
So
back. We're going to attack you full force.
yes. And so actually, the cool thing was that really the negative feedback I got were from women who have actually never been to one of my dances. Because when I did post on Thursday, I already knew that there was some concern. And what I put in my post was, yeah, we're way below the marker. And plus, this is not a public dance.
Right.
This is a private dance by invitation only. And only, really just people who have been coming for 3 years off and on come. And if they bring somebody, it's somebody who's in alignment with our environment, our goal, our mission, our love for each other, that sort of thing. So I really wasn't worried about it at all. I knew that if people were sick, they weren't going to come.
Right. They weren't going to
And
share that with us.
yes, or if they were around sick people, they weren't going to come. So, um, So anyways, so I realized that so these women that were posting like, I can't believe you're still holding the dance and I'm so disappointed in you and those kinds of things. And I'm saying it because that's how I felt it. It felt like they were yelling at me. And then, the women who have been to the dance for several years are like, I'm sure Victoria's going to make the best decision. And I'm sure she's going to, when she gets back, I'm sure she's going to figure out what to do. And everybody's going to take care of themselves. So there was all of that love that came through too. So that
Yes.
was fabulous. So I just said, okay, well, so now we have new information. It's recommended that we don't hold gatherings of 10 or more. So we are over that marker. So we're not going to hold the dance. Love you all. And so here comes my course correction. So I'm thinking, oh, hey, let's just have the dance at Rainbow's End where I live here. So, if you look around here, 50 plus acres of outsideness. Let's just have the dance outside. Woohoo, And I'm like, that's a great idea. And I had talked to my landmates before. They're like, yeah, that's a great idea. So, and then one of my landmates is very afraid of what's
Mhm.
going on. And she's very cautious. And she's like, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. And instantly my 5-year-old self was like, what?
But they want it.
But I want it and I want it my way. And so I put out, this text messages to everybody. Well, what if I did this? What if I did this? What if I did this? Can it still work? And everybody's like, yeah, that seems okay. And this one person says, well, I don't know. I still, you don't know who's coming in. And I said, but we're going to be outside. So I'm having this conflict within myself. Um, and, and I'm a visitor here,
Yeah.
and I still want to push back. So what's that about?
What is it about, Victoria?
Right. Well, what's it about is that I have this really incredible high value of being with my chosen family. I have a high value of social interaction. It feeds my soul. I'm an extrovert. I get energized by being with other people, as opposed to introverts, as you know, that get energized by having quiet time, by
Yeah.
getting away from us crazy
Yeah.
extroverts that just want to keep on talking and making noise and
Yeah. That's my son
and
shared that meme with me about the introverts. We've been preparing for this our whole lives.
yeah,
We're in.
right. We got this. Yes, and I, I'll speak for myself as an extrovert who gets energy from other people. This is like torture.
Yeah.
Total torture for me. And so I'm really honestly, I'm in the middle of feeling all of these feelings. And so I I posted on because I had invited the group that I went to the retreat with last time, let everybody just come to my house, because we were going to go. I'd already decided we're going to cancel the dance. And so one of the women said, "Oh, you come to my house." And then she's like, "Oh, maybe not, it's in my house." So I said, "Well, we'll just do it outside. It'll be all cool." And then I have not been told you cannot. I've been told here's how I'm feeling. And and I want to be in a place of honoring where I'm living. This is a great gift for me. And so I hear myself saying, how much are you going to push this envelope, Victoria? Right? So
Yeah.
even those words, push, push the
Hmm.
envelope.
Hmm.
Okay, is that something that happens with flow? I don't think flow and push, right? So I
Yeah.
sit here in front of you in a place of discomfort,
Yeah.
because I hold a different value than one of my landmates. And I guess what I'm feeling is sadness, besides my 5-year-old self that wants to go, but mommy,
But I
I
want
want it. Why can't I have it? And doing the negotiating thing that, our even our 2-year-olds, can do with us. They're so,
it.
goodness
Yes, they
sakes,
can.
right? So course correction.
Yeah.
So when I feel this discord, I know that I'm not in alignment with something.
Right.
And so there's lots of conversations around. I mean, it's so layered because I have lived my life for the majority of my life, 60 years old, so probably 40 of it, I have lived with pleasing other people.
Mm.
That's the other thing that comes into my equation, right?
Yeah.
It's
Am I
just
holding
not
my
simple.
boundary or am I pushing back? What am I doing
Right.
here? Yeah.
Exactly.
And it
Am
is a
I
delicate balance.
It is a delicate balance. And so that's why I consider myself the question queen. I do that with women I work with to help them bring up their own answers, but I do it with myself. And I keep asking myself questions. What is that about? Because you ask me, what is that about? Why do I feel that way? So I ask myself that question. Is it my 5-year-old self? Is it myself loving and honoring myself? Is it myself that's a woman that's coming into my own? That's like, okay, yeah, I have a voice. People have said I can have a voice here. So yes, I'll have a voice. How much of my voice you know, uh, do I voice? Um,
Do I project out there? Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, delicate balance, but always with checking in and always with checking in with myself.
And
Hmm.
I really think that's a process. I can't speak for the nation, I can't speak for the world, but my observation from my little corner of it and
Hmm.
working with clients, myself, my family, different
Right.
things, is that is becoming more, uh, people are pausing and checking in and
Hmm.
being like,
Hmm.
ooh, I don't like that. And
Right.
maybe they don't go
Right.
any further than that. Maybe they're just
Hmm.
like, my answer is no. Sometimes though we can probably like, oh, I don't like that, and oh, here's a little thing I can tweak, and oh, hey, now it's all better. Um,
Right.
so I think
Hmm.
it's a really, yeah, being able to, as you said, just notice
Right.
what's happening, notice what's
Right.
going on in you, notice
Right.
what's going on around you, is really
Right.
a huge,
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
it's part of a huge, I don't know if it's a full shift, but it's a growing awareness, an
Yes.
expansion.
Yes. I am knowing that this experience for our entire world, this is an opportunity for all of us, especially the extroverts, um, to uh, to push the pause button,
Yeah.
to stop and consider, go within.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
and and I hold all of you in such gentle light right now. I
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
4 boys and 3 of them are
Mhm.
introverts and
Oh,
one of them is an extrovert.
yes. Mhm.
And when the notification came in that the schools were going to be closed for 6 weeks,
Ah, yes.
I thought my extrovert was going to implode or
Yes.
explode or both.
Right? Yes.
just cease being altogether.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
And so trying to
Mm.
find that balance between, is it possible, is it
Yes.
smart, is it possible for him
Mhm.
to have a friend over and they fish outside on the
Right.
riverbank,
Right.
or is that safe, is that possible? And there's part of me is like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, they're not at risk, and then my husband's like, yeah, they're not as much at risk, they could still bring it home to us and we are at
Mhm.
less risk than
Mhm.
a senior citizen. But
Right.
and again, that kind of, are we comfortable with this? Ooh, I don't know. uh,
Right.
and
Right.
so it is it is definitely that checking in, noticing,
Yeah.
where
Mhm.
does
Mhm.
where does where is that path for me? When I check in, it's always, what brings me peace?
Yes.
Where is the moment
Mhm.
where,
Mhm.
ooh, my whole body is at ease, my mind is at ease? And sometimes it's just for a moment, like, oh, that was
Yes.
a nice moment, and then
Right.
um
Right. Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that's where, I guess, my barometer, is that the right word?
Yeah,
It's
right.
set.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't like that,
Mhm.
you know.
Ooh, I do like the word barometer because actually, like if you would have said temperature, that's a little bit more easier to read. But a barometer is about the environment, is about the atmosphere. It's like how much humidity, what's going on with the mist in the air.
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
How did they
Yeah.
figure that out all those years ago?
I don't
Like,
know.
what?
I don't know. Yes. So I am noticing that my power is quickly depleting on my phone. So is there
Okay.
a chance that we could just take a pause and then
Us,
I could
yes.
get to a power source?
Yes. Let us
Okay.
pause and we will be
Okay.
right back. So we are back. And during that, we kind of lost the thread of the conversation, but we'll just start where we are. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Course. You said. What was the phrase you used? Course adjustment? No.
course correction was where we were.
Course correction. Ooh, but I like course adjustment.
Do you like course adjusting the, yeah.
Yes, because the correction, that feels like I have to correct myself. I mean, and sometimes we do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, we step out and we say the wrong thing or hurt somebody's feelings. We have to correct it. But yeah, so adjustment.
But
So
course adjustment,
actually,
yeah, it's like this road is closed. We have to take a different road,
right. So actually, what I was thinking is, while we had our little technology break, that I could go and actually speak face to face with this landmate and just share my feelings and let her share her feelings and just say, I really want to honor the policies here, and everybody else is on board. So there's just one person that's not, and they operate on consensus. So. Just having this chat with her about that. Is that your preference, or how strongly on a scale of 1 to 10 do you feel about this? Do you need me to back off right now? Just.
Well, and she may just need to be heard.
Yeah,
There
true.
is there is
Mm-hmm.
such a value in just being heard and being like,
Yes.
I see you're afraid and I understand where that
Mm-hmm.
fear is coming
Mm-hmm.
from. Even if I
Right.
don't share it. Even if I don't share the same
Right.
thing. I
Right.
understand
Mm-hmm.
that you are feeling that. And
Right.
you know, uh,
Right. And honoring that for her.
right,
And
because
yeah.
if you were to step into that place, if you had the same fear,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then your
Oh.
answer to what Victoria wants would be
Yeah,
very
very
different.
different. It would be very different. Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
So yeah.
that I don't
Okay.
know. That seems brilliant to me to just go have a conversation.
There you go. What do you know about that? I mean, yeah, we text, we send emails. What about talking face to face?
Nice.
Mhm.
You just with
Mhm.
3 feet or more
Mhm.
between you right now. Oh.
Right. Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So anyways, but you asked a question about values, and I think values really does guide my life. Um,
Mhm.
eh, I tell everybody, the most loving question I can ask myself is, what does Victoria want? But behind that, behind that is what I want is determined by my values. And so I just keep asking myself questions until I get to that. And I do love what you said about peace. When I have peace, yeah, I agree with that. Then I know that, okay, I'm at peace with it.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I have to just be a big girl or an adult and make a decision that I'm not entirely happy with, and do it because it's the right thing for me. Um, like if it were up to me, I would feel invincible. I would be invincible and be able to do whatever I want to right now. But I hold the value of safety, so I'm staying home.
Yeah.
Right?
And you have a
Yeah.
beautiful place to stay. I mean, yeah.
Yes. So
Uh,
grateful. Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
grateful. Very
Yes.
grateful.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I've just been really deepening into that sense of appreciation of how beautiful actually this kind of
Mm-hmm.
enforced slowing down
Yes.
can be. And
Mm-hmm.
even a different friend of mine, last night we had a group uh, energy work meeting,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, just throwing out
Mm-hmm.
there, our grandparents were
Yeah.
called to war, we're called to stay home.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Just as a reality
Yeah.
check for a
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
let's
Right. Yes.
so
That's
uh,
crazy. Uh-huh.
yeah, and it kind of made me laugh in the moment, but it was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh
Yeah.
wait, let me think about this. I get to hold my kids,
Okay.
or yeah, no, I do, I hug
Yeah.
them, I get to
Uh-huh.
hold them, they're
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I get to walk across the street and be with the trees
Mm,
and the river and the sunshine or the rain, whatever. I get
right.
to,
Hmm.
I'm not trudging.
Hmm.
Yes, yeah. So, um,
Yeah. I
there's so
think
much.
gratitude is really important. And that's the other thing that helps me shift is when I am feeling a discomfort or I want to be someplace that I'm not, for instance. So if I have discomfort in where I am, I do acknowledge that. I do take some time to say, I don't really like this. Here's what I don't like about it. And then quickly shift to, okay, so if this is not what I want, or if this is not what I like, what is it that I do want? And talking about that, or talking to myself about that, talking to others about that, what is it that I really want, and putting it out there to the universe. But sometimes you can't make that shift. I mean, I can't always be spontaneous. There's some big decisions, and right, and you personally know
You
about
can
some
you
big
can try it. You're free
yeah,
to
how's that going to
try
work
it.
out, right? So, you're part of my circle that's helped me walk through a really big change, a really big
Yeah.
transition in my life. And while I was waiting to make the decision to actually step out or step in a different direction,
Mhm.
um, the thing that gave me peace is to be grateful for what I did have in that situation. And that brought me, enough peace that I didn't have to whiplash, everybody
Right.
I was around with and just go, I'm changing right now, this minute. Um,
Yeah, I have, and I think I'm better at not doing this, but
mm-hmm.
definitely, you talk about 20 years ago. 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have been 28 getting married, but before that,
Mm,
which is kind of exciting. And a whole
yes,
different person there than I was even, you know,
right.
8 years before that. When I was like
Mm-hmm.
19, though, I was sharing an apartment with my best friend, and she wasn't there very much. She had a boyfriend, and he was one of those boyfriends that liked to control her interaction,
Mm,
very subtly. And
yes.
all of us kind of saw it, and we tried to
Mm,
communicate it. She kind of heard it. She kind of didn't.
right.
I Well, two things happened. One, I couldn't handle watching what was happening there and knowing that she wasn't
Mm,
going to change.
mm-hmm.
Just knowing that that's where she
Right.
was and that was her
Mm-hmm.
path at the moment. It
Yeah.
hurt me to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to talk about that 5-year-old self. But I want
Yeah.
this.
Yep.
Um, I had just discovered within myself that I didn't like
Mm-hmm.
my college major. And,
Mm,
it was one of those kind of things where I looked at 2.5 years of transcripts
yes.
because
Right.
I was halfway through, no, I guess just into the fall term of my junior year. So,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit down the road at college.
Yeah. Right.
But I looked at my transcripts, and everything that was outside of my major, I had an A
Mm-hmm.
in. Everything that was
Ah.
inside my major, I
Uh-huh.
had a D or C in. And it
Oh,
kind of light bulbs because I don't go to those classes because I don't
you don't
like
want
them.
to. Yes. Uh-huh.
You
Good
know,
reflection.
I would
Yes.
rather go to the
Yes.
coast than go to that class. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so, but I had allowed myself then to take some classes that were
Mm-hmm.
just for fun, exploratory, and I
Right.
fell in love with something. It happened to
Uh-huh.
be a program that took 5 years from the moment you were accepted into it.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
And the dean of that college, in its wisdom, plus I didn't really know how to put together when I was in high school, the focus was on tests, writing papers, things like that. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
on putting
Right.
together presentations or how to
Mm-hmm.
present your skills or what you could
Mm-hmm.
offer a program, which is kind of
Right.
what their application was
Mm.
on, is like, tell us why
Huh?
you're a good fit, show us what skills you have, show us
Uh-huh.
why our investment in you is going to pay off for the world.
Right.
I didn't have those skills. And so I
Mm.
threw together something.
Yeah.
And I even had a friend who looked at it. He's like, I think you may want to. I was like, oh, no, it's good. It's
Yeah.
just something, just.
Right.
And
Right.
of course, they were like, you're not our client. You're not our,
Yeah.
we're going
Right.
to say no. And
Oh,
flare, you know,
yes.
flare it. And I researched and I
Mhm.
found a college in West Virginia that said,
Mm.
sure, come on over, spend your money here. We
Wow.
don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's your foible. If that's what you want to do as a junior, that's your life path. You can
Right.
trip all you want. We're happy to be
Mhm.
here for you.
Mhm. Right.
So anyway, kind of, but my reaction was I didn't notice how much pressure was building inside myself on things
Uh-huh.
until it hit that explosion point. And
Mhm.
so it was less spontaneous in the moment, but to all of my friends, because I hadn't communicated anything, I hadn't, like you said, I hadn't shared what was going on. It was just
Mhm.
like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm leaving. Bye.
Yep.
And not only am I leaving,
Right.
I'm moving to West Virginia,
Uh-huh.
3,000 miles away,
Wow. Yeah.
in a time before internet, in a time
Yes.
before cell
Oh,
phones, you
yeah.
know, those things that my
Mhm.
kids just, they're like, they can't fathom, you know,
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
new zero people.
Mhm.
I mean, you want to talk about jumping out of your comfort zone. Yeah,
Yeah,
a
that's
little
big.
bit of as a friend puts it, Libras are well balanced and right in the middle, unless they're off balance. And then, you know, just like a
Uh-huh.
scale.
Yep. Yep. There you go. Yep.
And for those of you listening audio and not video, I was shifting my arms up and down dramatically.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so it's that, but I have learned to notice more when the pot is boiling, and it
Mhm.
used to be I noticed it when it was boiling, you know, an inch from the top, which was still better than when it explodes. But
Right.
now I notice when the boil starts,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's like,
Ooh,
ooh,
good analogy.
the
Yeah.
boiling is starting. I'm kind of
Mhm.
simmering. So what's going
Right.
on?
Right.
Where's it sitting
Yes.
in my body? And my
Mhm.
body
Mhm.
really does tell me a lot. So it's
Yes.
like, oh, if it's in my, is it in my
Mhm.
gut?
Mhm.
Is it, because usually if it's in my lower gut especially, I'm like, oh, I'm scared. What am I scared
Right.
of?
Right.
If it's higher up in my gut, it's usually
Mhm.
anger.
Mhm.
Or if my arms or legs hurt, that's usually anger.
Right.
Or if I get allergy, hives.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hives are a big anger actually indicator from my body to me, which is that took over a decade to figure out. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
sometimes I have this reaction to things and sometimes I don't. Oh,
Right.
maybe it's not the thing. I mean, the thing is a catalyst, dog hair,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Mhm.
oh, I'm really angry and I'm not expressing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Right.
get hives. I'm going to express it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Or you have to
Uh,
spend time in the bathroom.
right. Or if it's in my throat, if I can't swallow my
Mm.
food, sometimes
Mm.
food will get stuck. If I
Uh-huh.
can't swallow,
Interesting.
it's
Mm.
usually that I am not
Mhm.
feeling comfortable in being able to share
Right.
my feelings, my thoughts,
Mhm.
whatever, or I feel like I've shared them and I've been totally shut down.
Mhm.
And so I have to know not to eat for a little while until I can
Uh-huh.
work through that, and then kind of, and
Wow.
it's just that process of feeling, okay, I feel shut
Mhm.
down. Is there anything I can do about that? Or do I
Right.
just have to breathe and
Mhm.
figure out what's the most loving thing I can do for myself, knowing that I can't
Exactly.
change that out there.
Mhm.
All I
Mhm.
can change is me, and sometimes
Right.
that means I have to go in my room and cry.
Yeah.
Let it out.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
uh, or try again to talk, or
Mhm.
sometimes I do just blow up,
Mm.
which
Yep.
isn't usually effective, other than it does get people's attention.
Yeah.
They know
True that. Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
not okay right now. um,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For
so
sure.
but
Yeah.
that's been, yeah, so I
Mhm.
guess that's an area for myself where I feel
Mhm.
proud of myself. uh, but
Yeah.
I am happy that I can now notice. I, I
Mhm.
can't even, I mean, I can go there, but you know, the amount of my life where I just totally disregarded what my body feedback was, you know, it's like I lived literally just in my head.
Right.
I didn't even, I couldn't even tell you how I felt most of the
Hmm.
time up until about 5 years ago. Every single
Wow. Yeah.
time the phrase was,
Mm-hmm.
I think I feel.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I think I
Yeah.
feel. I think I feel.
Right. Right. You weren't
which is me,
sure.
which means I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
feeling. My brain was trying to
Mm-hmm.
analyze what was
Mm.
going on and give a
Right.
response.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're all
Mm-hmm.
we are all learning about ourselves,
We are.
no
Yes.
matter what profession we have, or even when we've
Mm-hmm.
gained skills and gained knowledge and now have
Mm-hmm.
something we can
Mm-hmm.
offer people, there's always still more that we're, at least
Right.
me, and I know
Right.
for you because we've
Yeah,
talked.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah. You said something about something being best for you. And that's actually another question I ask myself is, besides what does Victoria want? So if I have lots of choices, for instance, or two choices, anyways, I can say to myself, what is best for me at this time? And again, not a head bonking kind of a way, like,
yeah.
that's not good for you, or what's best for you. It's just like, what is best? What's the best choice I can make in this moment? And so Mike Dooley talks about making choices. If you have lots of choices and you have a goal, but you can't see how to get there, um, just consider all of your choices. And he says, this is his version of what's best for me. he says, he says, choose the least suckiest path.
Right.
That's a different way to put what's best for me. But, sometimes that resonates with people. None of these options are really exactly what I want, but what's the least suckiest path? What's the least, what's the least worst thing that can happen or something? So that's one. But I don't usually say maybe I will start the conversation with myself. What's the least suckiest way? But I like my question. What's
Yeah.
best for me? And then the other question I ask myself is, what serves my highest good?
So
Um,
how do you
mhm.
feel into those answers? Because again, I can see myself being like, well, what's best for me? And my brain going,
Right.
I don't know.
Yes.
What's best for you?
Right. Well, again, I weigh it against my values. So if I'm like a scale,
Mhm.
and
Aren't
I
you glad you're
put
not a
my
Libra?
yes, right. Yes, and that's the problem. I'm Scorpio.
Yeah.
So right, so I'm full of passion with whatever I do, and I act quickly. But if I put on a scale, on one side I have my values, and on the other side I consider what's best for me. I can weigh the question of what's best with me based on what are my values, what serves my highest good. What serves my highest good is very close to what are my values. All of those things are really intertwined with each other. And I do use what you referenced is a place of peace.
Mhm.
um, and just this, just like, yes, I feel at peace with that. I feel, um, and it's, and even in addition to peace, it's this feeling of alignment. So things are, lining up with each other. Um, and there's, it's flow is another feeling that I go for. What is flowing? If I don't feel at peace, if there's not flow happening, if it doesn't happen naturally, organically, then also, like Kyle C says, if we're trying so hard, if we're trying really hard at something, we keep trying harder and harder and harder, maybe that's not the way.
Maybe that's not
you know
the.
yeah, is that how we want to live our lives? Like really pushing, making it hard. It's difficult. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult, but I'm doing it. So I realize, here's the cool thing. uh, people can live their lives that way, and that it does work that way for some people, and some people are very successful doing it that way. So for instance, I love to use Dr. Wayne Dyer as an example. I really love his work. I've appreciated his work. And I realize, even someone that magnificent, I can have a difference of opinion with.
Isn't that cool?
It is very cool. So and speaking about when he was publishing his first book, his publisher says to him, "Is there anything you are not willing to do to make this a bestseller, to make this a #1 on the New York bestseller list. Is there anything? And Dr. Wayne Dyer says, no, there is not anything I am not willing to do. So he talks about, he first self-published, he bought all the books himself. He went out there, he paid for all of his travel, all of the the book signing, he did all of that himself, day and night. He pushed himself. He went. He just did that for weeks on end. Now, when he was explaining that, I was like, no,
Not me.
not me. I am not doing that. That's not what is alignment with me. That is not what brings flow into my life. Because so at that moment in his life, what I realized, and I honor his process. In that moment, in those 12 weeks or the 12 months, whatever it was that he did this push, his highest value at that point was to get out his message. And I believe it wasn't that he wanted to be #1, but he knew he had a message. And the message that propelled him to push everything forward and to push everything aside. He had, I don't know how many kids at that time he had. I think he has like 6 or 8 kids or whatever. But at that time, I don't know how many he had, but he was already married. He already had children. And he made an agreement with those around him, or not, but he did his. He pushed everything aside, and that's what he did. For me, I'm not willing to do that. And that would not be in alignment with me. That would not be in flow with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, here's this person that is held in enormous high regard in the spiritual community, in New Thought community. And I disagree with him. What do you know about that? I'm not going to do it that way.
And that's beautiful. That is such beautiful awareness of that, that would not work for you. It would probably exhaust you. It would probably frustrate you, and you would not get the result of what you really wanted, because it would not be in alignment with your highest best good.
So I have lived in the Energizer Bunny, lifestyle before, and I've actually had that written on my reviews. That I am the Energizer Bunny. I have been told by my supervisor, if we could duplicate what you're doing with all the other supervisors, if we could bottle your energy up, and if all the other workers were like you, we would make $1 million in this business. And at that time, I was like, oh yeah, this is how I roll. This is how I do it. And it was how I rolled, and it was fine. That was okay. And then I got breast cancer.
And it was no longer okay.
It was no longer okay. And, I tell people that breast cancer was one of the greatest gifts I ever received. It's like the coronavirus, it makes you stop. You don't have a choice. Yes. I mean, yes. Okay. I guess we do have a choice to ignore it, but I couldn't ignore it, and I chose not to ignore it. And that was this, what I call shoulder shaking event for myself. And I listened. I pay attention. I wasn't listening before, obviously. My body was trying to send me a message, slow down. And I did not listen. I ignored my body. I ignored the signs. I ignored the exhaustion. I ignored, because at that time I was an administrator at a memory care place. And the policy was, if somebody called out, I had to come in and fill their spot. Mm-hmm. And it came to a point one time where I worked, no kidding, 3 shifts in a row. And when I went to my regional director, and I said, I can't keep doing this. She goes, well, that's the policy. You're going to have to just keep hiring people. And but they wouldn't pay more than minimum wage. So how am I going to keep people in a high demanding job that's trying to love and care on our most vulnerable population, and then we treat them like poo and expect them to stay?
Right.
So yes, I just kept stepping in. And so here's the thing. I'm so grateful for the breast cancer, because it stopped me in my tracks. And when I was, getting close to the 12 weeks, I run out of the time for the FMLA, and considering, can I go back or can I not go back? And And I thought, I can't. I can't do it. And I did have a bad reaction to the treatment, but even more so, what hit me home was my granddaughter. So that was 6 years ago. She's 13 now. So what does that make her? 7.
7. Mm-hmm.
So the wisdom of a 7-year-old. She said to me, "Are you going to go back to work, Grandma?" And I said no. I said, "No, I can't, I really can't. I can't go back to work." And she said, "Oh, that's good, Grandma, because when we came to visit you, you were always at work."
Mm.
And in that moment, I thought, if I had a doubt, every single doubt just went out the window, because my highest value is family. One of my highest values is family. And if my granddaughter felt like I wasn't present and I wasn't there, and I wasn't, she helped me to see that my energy in the moment, that my excitement in the moment, or my thought that I had to save this organization, that I was the only one that could step in, that I was the one who had to fix it. And I pushed everything else aside. Somehow I got caught up in that moment, or in that, I was there for about a year and a half. I got caught up in that energy of, it's all up to me. I'm the
Right.
savior. I'm the savior of this organization. I'm the one that can fix it. And of course, we all know that's baloney. So, and I left and somebody else did come in. I wasn't there. Other people stepped up.
Right.
It got fixed. And I got the opportunity to shift back into who I am, what feeds my soul.
And it wasn't that job?
It was not. It was lots of frustration being there and fighting against. I mean, because I said to them, I had always worked in the nonprofit world. So the most I had ever made in my entire life up to that point was like $40,000. And that was plenty. It was enough to live
Mm-hmm.
off of, and it was fine. Well, I was making more than twice that, almost $100,000 at this place. And so I went to my managers, or the regional director, and I said, "Look, I don't need $100,000. Hire me another assistant or a co-director. I will split my salary with this person. Then you will have 2 people that will run this business, and it will run smoother. It will be enough, and it will be easier on me. It'll be easier on the other person. It'll be easier on all the staff." And they refused it.
Wow.
And then I said, "Okay, then take some of my salary and spread it out for the line workers. Give them more than minimum wage, because then they will stay. If I can pay everybody $14 an hour, then they're going to stay. They're not going to go and work at Carl's Jr., because Carl's Jr. is paying more than we're paying them."
Hmm.
And they're like, "Sorry, can't do that. It's a company policy." And at that moment, I could have, looking back, of course, it's all hindsight 2020. I could have looked back and thought, "Oh, these people are not in alignment," because my highest value was service.
Right.
My highest value was not money. Their highest value was money. And they fed the residents there crap. And I even tried to say, well, it, taking up their value of money. If you want these people to live longer and give you money more every single month, we need to raise the vibration on the food that we're sending them, that we're giving them, because they're going to live longer if they're eating healthier. Then you're going to make more money. And even that didn't motivate them. Yep.
Yeah. Right over their heads.
So I was not in alignment with this company. And I am grateful for the breast cancer and for how it's helped me to live my life from that point on. And now I I I sing this song. It's an old Shaker song. If you want to live life freely, take your time, go slowly, do few things and do them well. Simple life grows holy.
Mm, I love that
And
simple life.
yeah, and I intentionally now on my calendar, I still have a calendar. I still use those, those executive skills that I had. Uh, and what I do is I have lots of free time or lots of downtime or what I call to the slow day time. I don't set my alarm in the morning. I wake up when my body wakes up. I stay up as late as I want to. I do have some. I have some uh, gifts in my life. I mean, I'm not in a place now where I have to wake up and take the kids to school and things like that. I know everybody can't do that, but so I'm grateful, for this place in my life where I get to choose how I spend my day, and I want to do few things and do them well.
Right. Would you say that, though, to that point, I mean, you're at a place now, but
Hmm.
in that moment when you were working hectically,
Hmm.
could you have
Hmm.
still found ways to give yourself moments and honor the outside commitments?
Yes, I did my best to do that. Like for instance, I stopped eating lunch in my office. That's a little thing I could do. I brought my own food because food there was crappy, like I said,
Hmm.
and I went outside and I sat with some of the residents outside. I was still with residents, but um, I thought, I'm having lunch now. I'm not your administrator. Now I'm somebody visiting you. Or I would go out all by myself. So I took little breaks like that by myself. And when I realized that even though I'm like, okay, I'm not working this weekend, somebody else is on call, but in that position, I was where the buck stopped.
Hmm.
So if the other people that were there wasn't actually anybody else on call except for the nurse, and so if her help wasn't enough, then that was the company policy.
Right.
I had to, even though I said, "Oh, this is my weekend with the grandkids," or I'm going away for the coast. I was told you can only be 45 minutes away. I lived in Eugene at the time, and it takes more than 45 minutes to get to the coast. So there was absolutely no opportunity, and I had to have a cell phone with me at all times. I could never go anywhere that there was not service.
So eventually, even if you hadn't got the breast cancer, eventually you probably would have come to a
Yes.
point of, this is not in agreement with my highest values. I can't
Yeah.
live my
Right.
highest value part of my life.
Yeah. I actually was already starting to look for other work, and so the breast cancer just like, oh, okay, yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's not
Yeah.
be here anymore.
That's,
Hmm.
I worked for a company and I was very grateful right out of
Hmm.
college. I had a 2-year-old son. I was a single mom.
Hmm.
I was grateful to find a company. In fact, I badgered the heck out of this company until
Yeah.
I got them to agree to let me come to work for 30 days as a trial.
Uh-huh. Good
And then I
idea.
was kept on, but it was there. There can be out there in the corporate world
Hmm.
this sense, and I realized part of it was me too. I
Uh-huh.
kept pushing, wanting them to
Hmm.
say, okay, that's good enough or good job.
Right.
But that's
Right.
not how they're set up. It's like,
Yep.
whatever you can give us, we'll take. Oh, you
Yep.
think you can give us 20% more? We'll take that. Oh, you think you can
Yeah.
give us 20% more? We'll take that until
Hmm.
you are broken. And in my
Hmm.
case, I was broken, feeling guilty,
Yeah.
ill, it was like, and I just can't give
Hmm.
anymore. And
Right.
it was actually Dale Carnegie
Uh-huh.
in part, and actually one of the company vice presidents, that
Mm.
I heard two different parts of a message kind of come together.
Mm.
And one was from Dale Carnegie was, you have to know yourself and know your
Mhm.
boundaries
Mhm.
and
Right.
know where you're willing to go and where you're not. And
Right.
this vice president was the other thing. He had this whole talk on your 4 corner values.
Mhm.
He said, because that's the foundation of your world. So if you're
Right.
not living according to that, either your foundation is crumbling and your world is going to
Mm.
fall apart,
Mhm.
or you're always working against yourself.
Mhm. Oh
And,
yeah.
and somebody else put it totally even more simply. Like
Mhm.
every step you take is either taking you in the direction of your values, your goals, and your dreams,
Mhm.
or it's taking you away from it.
Right.
And if you have one foot walking towards it and one foot walking back of it, pretty soon you're doing the
Mhm.
splits and you've torn yourself apart.
That is a really good
It's
analogy. I
just
love
very
that.
simple and direct.
Right. Yes,
It
I
still
love
took
that.
me 7 years. I mean, I heard it
Yeah.
at about 4 years in,
Mhm. Right.
and I heard it and I felt it and I heard it and I
Mhm.
felt it. But it took
Mm.
an additional 3 years, and really it took
Mhm.
the company saying, "What you're giving us." And at that
Right.
point, I had 3
Mhm.
children under
Mhm.
the age. Actually, I had 4,
Wow.
3 under the
Wow.
age of 7, and
Yikes.
then you know one that was
Mhm.
older. And yeah, I was like, they're like, "What you're giving us is not enough." And I was like, "Well,
Oh.
then
Yeah.
I'm putting in my 2-week notice, and
Right.
because what I'm giving my kids isn't enough either. And if I have to
Uh-huh.
choose who gets
Right.
more, it's them."
Right.
But
That's
at the
right.
moment, but it
That's
was a
right.
long
Mhm.
internal war between the part of
Mhm.
me that wanted to be the
Mm.
valued employee, give my
Right.
best. I loved being a team leader. I loved
Yes.
helping other people make their things.
Mhm. Mhm.
I loved the oh, I loved the values of the founder of the company.
Uh-huh.
I got
Uh-huh.
to actually meet him and take a class actually
Ah,
with him, and it was really
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, but the interim, he'd kind of half retired. It's like, I'm not really but he was always
Mhm.
there until
Mhm.
the day he died,
Right?
because it was his.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
but the interim leadership in
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
transition didn't really hold all of his values the same,
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
know. Um, but it was a hard thing for me. But boy,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it was hard financially for us afterwards, because I just quit. So it
Sure.
became, instead of my
Yeah.
husband and I making the same amount of money, my husband
Right?
having to do all of it. And I am so
Yeah.
grateful that he was able to handle that and still
Mhm.
handles a
Mhm.
lot of that.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
but it was, but even if even if I'd had to somehow find a different job, or I would have
Uh-huh.
found something that
Right.
allowed me to give more
Mm.
to my kids. And I would have
Yeah. Mhm.
defined that boundary of,
Mhm.
I'm not, gosh, my poor 2-year-old, when I first started, I worked 16-hour
Mm.
days. I would pick him up from
Wow.
daycare, feed him,
Mm.
take him back to my office, and put him in the
Mm.
corner or with a movie, or, he didn't get my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, he kind of, I was like,
Mhm.
well, you get kind of my time. I'm here with you. Not really.
Yeah. Kind of, sort of.
If,
But he turned
yeah.
out okay.
Yeah. He's a great kid. He's a,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah.
wonderful person. It didn't, bust him. There are some things
Yes.
that he resists in his life right now that is
Sure.
probably
Sure.
directly
Mm.
reflective of that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but we all have our path and are learning things, and so I'm not
Yes.
judging myself
Right.
too
Right.
harshly. I still find a
Yeah.
little bit of, you know,
Yeah.
um, certainly there are things I wish we all have things we
Mhm.
wish we could turn back
Mhm.
into differently.
Right. And you did the best
And
you
I
could
did
at
the
the
best I
time.
could in the moment. I was
Right.
trying to live my
Exactly.
highest ideal
Mhm.
of,
Mhm.
you work hard, you
Yeah.
give what you got, you get your work done,
Right.
you take care of your kid, you support them.
Mhm.
Like I said, I was
Mhm.
a single mom. I was
Right.
like, it was all important to
Mhm.
me. So I wasn't
Mhm.
I wasn't not honoring myself. I
Right.
just was a
Mhm.
little bit, those I don't know that I really sat down and defined those pillars of values, those foundations.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Right.
I kind of felt them,
Mhm.
what I wanted to do, what was important to me. But and
Right.
at that point, I would say I only had two: my son
Mm.
and my job.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
really hard to have a 2-point
Mhm.
foundation,
Mhm.
really, in
Yeah.
general.
Right.
Myself was not
Mhm.
in. If you notice that, my son,
Right.
my job, myself was nowhere
Yeah.
in there.
Ah.
Nowhere in there.
Wow.
My spiritual
Wow.
connection,
Uh-huh.
my heart, my health,
Mhm.
none of those things were in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that, now I would say my top value is
Mhm.
my connection to my spirit, my highest self. If I
Right.
can't have the time,
Mhm.
Even my kids, my husband, which are very, very close up there, if I can't have my connection to me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Right.
have to
Right.
let you go. And in that point of view, here's letting the people
Yes.
go.
Right.
And that was, and it and I recognize, I remember being in that moment of trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart on one level just absolutely broke. It's like,
Yeah.
it was so hard to choose my own spiritual, physical well-being first over those things.
Right.
But
Yes.
when it came down to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just had that epiphany. Is like, if I'm broken,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm dying. And if I'm dead, they don't get
Mm-hmm.
me anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Can't give
Exactly.
it. So,
Yeah.
but it was not on any level an easy
Mm-hmm.
realization or an easy
Mm-hmm.
process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know there are some people that look at my life and the way and they're like, oh, well, that's easy for you. You got this, you got that. I'm like,
Right.
it may look that way now, and even now there are challenges with that.
For sure.
There are levels of living that I choose not to have
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
order to have these other things.
That's right.
And that's my choice, and other people
Mm-hmm.
don't have to make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's my
Right.
choice, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that it's necessarily easy.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that, and again, that I guess what I really want to validate myself for and encourage others that are listening, that
Mm-hmm.
process of discovering yourself, of learning to listen to yourself, of learning to pull your life into alignment with your highest values. You may
Mm-hmm.
think you were born with your highest values, but
Mm.
really probably those are your parents' highest, or maybe
Right.
even their parents.
Right.
You don't even know if your parents even knew what their values
Right.
were.
Exactly. Probably
So
not. Yes.
probably not. So
Yes.
finding your own
Mm-hmm.
values
Mm-hmm.
can
So
be
important.
quite a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And
It can
especially
be. Mm-hmm.
if what your highest value is not
Mm-hmm.
your parents' highest value. And we've talked
Right.
about this before. It's just suddenly happened. I was
Yes.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that can be difficult for everybody
Mm-hmm.
involved. That
Yes.
can cause,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
but again, eventually, if you're not living within your own values, even if you don't know what they are,
Mm-hmm.
your body will start to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And it will start
Right.
screaming pretty
Right.
harshly.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I know sometimes we get in this place where, like you said, when we're younger, or it could happen when we're still older. I mean, like I said, I didn't really start to know myself until I was in my early 40s. And because I just kept adopting, I was so enmeshed with the religious culture in which I
Mm,
was raised. And then that was what my parents believed in. And a lot of people have these aha moments when they're becoming teenagers, and I had really adopted their religious beliefs. I mean, I really swallowed the whole thing hook, line, and sinker. And I felt like that's who I was. And it took me a long time to figure out that no, that's who you are. That's not who I am. And during that whole process, there's so many thoughts that are going on, so many feelings that are happening. And I think that in our line of work, what's important for us is to help. Well, for me at least, I'll just speak for myself. For me, I want to just ask questions about, what is it that's bringing you discomfort? So one of the tools I use is, it's of all the things that you don't like that's going on right now, pick one thing that you can let go of. So kind of like that values exercise, but in all the things that you don't like,
mm-hmm.
because the longer we stay with those things that we don't like, the longer that we give them our energy, our thought, our time, our money, our dedication, those grow and grow and grow. And so, sometimes I even have women list all the things that they don't like because there's so many things that they don't like. So, what's one of the easiest things that you can let go of? You can stop. You can stop thinking about that one. You could just let that one go.
I
Okay,
think
so
that's
you're,
so important
yeah.
too. Not even, I think there's many people who don't even look at
Hmm.
what do I like, what do I not like.
Right.
They're
They don't even
just
ask that
so,
sub the question.
they're given this
Yes.
thing,
Hmm.
and all they know is they got to do this thing, and yeah,
Right.
there's no no moments of even questioning. Or
Right.
they might be like, I hate this, but there's no question of, well, can I set part of it down?
Right. And that there's not another choice. And so what I do is like, even with the smallest thing that they can let go of. So I have them look at that. Okay. So you don't like, I don't know, the color blue. Let's just say something weird. You know, you don't like this color blue. So what do you like? What would you prefer better than that? You know, even what's one level higher than that, and go with that. And so just little tiny victories, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
you know, thinking about, okay, I don't really like that. It's not a really big thing, but so if I could, because sometimes the really heavy things are hard to shift. So if we could start with the lighter issues of what you don't like, then so what do you like? Let's look at the other choices. So, okay, well, let me just use an example that really does make sense rather than the color blue. So when I
I was going with the
decided,
colors. I was like,
yeah.
yeah, I'm going to paint my living room.
So when I decided to change the way I was eating, there were a lot of things that I thought, okay, well, I got to get rid of all this stuff. You know, I got to stop doing this. I got to stop doing that. I got to, oh, that's poisonous. That's unhealthy. But, you know, I had this long list. It felt really overwhelming. And so I thought, okay, instead of doing that to myself, because I'm really not the kind of person, even though I make changes quickly, I'm not the kind of person that can go, okay, I'm going to be vegan and I'm starting right now and I'm never doing anything else but being vegan. I mean, I'm not that kind of person. The thing that worked for me is to eliminate, you know, one category of food at a time. So for me, now this won't resonate with everybody because this sounds weird maybe, but one of the easiest things for me to stop doing was cheese. Now I know cheese is a big deal for a lot of people, but for me,
It's my favorite.
right, it's not something. I didn't put cheese on everything. I I almost always had cheese in the house, but I realized that's not something that I went to. That wasn't my go-to. So I'm like, okay, I can stop doing that. Um, and even that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop grating cheese on things. Okay, now I'm gonna stop taking slices of cheese. Now I'm gonna just, you know, yeah. So I just did like little tiny increments. And for me, at the beginning, just eliminating was okay. Then when I came to some other things, like I really like cream cheese. And I had to just bite the bullet because 5 or 6 years ago, when I stopped eating dairy, there weren't very many choices. And the choices there were like, oh, so disgusting.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, either eat cream cheese or eat this disgusting thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to eat the cream cheese. But later on, they came out with some options. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this almond one. I'm going to try the cashew one. I'm going to try the coconut one. I'm going to try. So I tried all these ones. I'm like, oh, yay, found one that I loved. It's $7 for 8 ounces. That's another decision. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I want to spend $7 on this thing that I really love? Well, yes, sometimes I do. And then so I bought some, I bring it home, and then I realize, oh, now I'm eating bagels and cream cheese all the time. I'm having it for breakfast, I'm having it for lunch, I'm having it for a snack, I'm having it for dinner. So, okay, so again, I take a look at inside what serves my highest value. Do I want to be eating all those calories? Number one. Do I want to be eating all this gluten? Number two. Do I want to be eating late at night? Because that's what was happening. So I realized that the cream cheese was pushing all these other little buttons of past habits that I had already let go of, and now I'm bringing them up again.
Right.
So what
That's a
I
really good
do,
point.
yeah. So what I have done, because I don't want to give it up, apparently cream cheese is a high value for me.
Every now and then, I want it.
Right. What I do is I buy it when I hold a retreat,
Fun.
or I buy it when I have a potluck. And then if there's some left over, if I remember, which I didn't this time, I send it home with somebody. So now it's in my refrigerator.
Uh-oh.
It's calling me. It's calling my
Uh-oh.
name. Can you hear it? It is.
Victoria!
So it's those little opportunities that I'm grateful for, that I'm like, thank you. You're giving me the opportunity again to know that there are choices. There's different ways that I can do things. Because if I ignore the little tiny choices, then I ignore another one and another one and another one. And then I'm back to, bad eating habits, or
Not
habits
doing
that
what
don't
Victoria
serve,
wants.
right, serve my body. So another thing so I do that, eliminating the little things, or trying to get what I want in doses, so I don't feel like I'm cheating myself. So
Mhm.
that's the other thing. So it's like this dance I do with myself, honoring myself with what I want, what I need, and choosing a high quality of what I want and what I need, because that I deserve that, and honoring my value of self-love and appreciation and adoration. So I do love my body. I'm so grateful for my body, because my body has healed me. I have, it's this summer will be 6 years I'm cancer free. Yes.
Yay!
And
Big
my
applause.
body is doing that. And it
Yeah.
is every time I eat something healthy, I am feeding it's like, it's that old saying, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And so I've adopted that and used that. And I feel good. And it's not a struggle for me, because I hold two things. One is my highest value is to be healthy. Well, one is my highest value is to be alive. Okay.
Alive is good.
Alive is good. And the other value is I don't want to die. And for some people, holding that negative value doesn't work for them. But for me, because I had this shoulder shaking experience, now I wasn't stage 4 cancer. I was like 2.5. But because of my cancer type, there's a high incidence of recurrence. And so I did a lot of research to find out what it is that accelerates recurrence, what kind of food, what kind of environment. So I learned that what's true for all cancers is that
Hmm.
stress raises recurrence of
Stresses.
any chronic disease, any,
Yeah.
not just cancer, anything, right?
Right.
Anything negative. Stress exacerbates that situation. So that's why I adore the ode to the slow day. That's why I
Right.
do that. That's why I only put like 2 things on my calendar a day. And I make sure I get outside. There are things that I do that honor myself. Um, and when I know I was doing all my research, I saw this short clip in this documentary, that says that research has shown that women who have breast cancer, if you ingest 8 ounces of dairy, so be that one little Yoplait yogurt, or a cup of milk in cereal, or I never ate 8 ounces of ice cream. That's ridiculous. That would have been more like 32 or something. But if I do that on a regular basis, so women with breast cancer, if you ingest an average of 8 ounces of dairy a day, no matter what that is, it raises my reoccurrence by 60%.
Wow.
So for me, okay, just for me, I say dairy is the devil. And because I don't want to die. And if I choose to eat dairy, um, and there have been some rare occasions that I have chosen it, I'm like, okay, this is not going to kill me. I ordered something and, oh, there's a little bit of cheese on top, whatever. I'm not going to be like this religious fanatic and throw a fit in the restaurant because I said no cheese on my enchilada. I mean, I'm not going to be like that. And I take it with Thanksgiving, and I'm like, okay, that's not going to kill me.
Hmm.
And I was in the store the other day, and for some reason I'm like, ooh, that looks really good. It was like this goat cheese, and it had this herbs and garlic spread, and that was one of the things I really liked to eat before. And I'm like, oh, this won't kill me. But if I bring this whole thing home, I'm going to eat it.
And I don't
And
really want that. Yeah.
right. And do I want to create this pattern for myself? So I'm in the section. It was next to where the non-dairy yogurt was. And I'm looking at it. I even picked it up and I held it and I looked at it. And I thought, is this what I really want? Not really. I put it back.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I feel
Yeah.
at peace with it.
I do remember something you said, and I don't remember if it was at a retreat or in the circle that we meet once a week, but you were, you know, talking about a friend of yours, I believe,
Mm,
who said, I can do whatever I want. I'm an
right.
adult.
That's right.
I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if I want to eat all the cheese in the world, I can
Yep.
do that.
Yep. That's right.
But if I
Yep.
want to make a different choice
Mm-hmm.
because I love
Mm-hmm.
myself more than I love cheese, or more than I
Right.
love whatever
Right.
the example is,
Mm-hmm.
soda,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
whatever, caffeine. I love
Yeah.
myself more than I love
Right.
caffeine, whatever,
Yep. Right.
then
Yep.
it becomes empowering
Mm-hmm.
versus punishing.
It does. Yeah. That was a huge shift for me. I mean, and that was just a couple years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am an adult. I can eat whatever I want to eat. And the question is, what do I want? What do I really want? What would I love, love, love? What's my highest value in this moment? Whatever. And I had one of my exes says, you want to start out like you can keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And every step you take, the other thing, Dr. Wayne Dyer also says, we are a sum total of all the steps that we have taken before. So if that is true, which is true, right? We are who we are now because of all the experiences that we have experienced, all the choices that we made. So we are sum total of all the choices that we made up to this point. So if that's true for our past and for right now, I am going to create who I'm going to be by this next step I'm taking right now.
Yes.
So I want to create the sum total of who I am going to be, and I'm doing that right now in this very moment.
With the
And
step I'm taking now. Oh, I love
so,
that.
yeah, so every single choice I make right now is important. And again, not in a head bonking kind of a way,
Right.
but
In that
in a
empowering.
loving way,
Mm,
right? In that I'm an adult way, in that I get to choose what I want way, in that what is best for me way, in what serves my highest good way. And I love that feeling. I love living in that. I mean, even just talking about that, I have like goosebumps on
right.
me thinking
It's
about
exciting.
it. Does. Right.
It doesn't
This
matter if
I
it's food or
right,
relationship
exactly.
or
Yes, career choice
activities.
or
Yeah.
yeah, what lights you up, what melts your butter, what floats your boat. I mean, uh, yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to live in that vibration.
Yeah. So joyful. So, and
Yes.
it's joyful, but it's almost the deeper foundation of joy. It's
Right.
just that pure
Mhm. Mhm.
awe of realization that
Mhm.
I can have everything I've ever wanted. Maybe not in the
Right.
second,
Right. Right.
but as you said, through each choice, through each moment, through
Yes.
each step, which is where we started
Mhm.
this 2 hours ago almost.
Right. Yeah.
That single
Yeah.
step, I
Uh-huh.
can make a choice that takes
Mhm.
me in that direction of everything I want to
Yes.
be, everything I want to
Mhm.
experience,
Mhm.
and I think it's so
Mhm.
important in that we can let go
Yes.
one bit at a
Mhm.
time of the things
Mhm.
we don't want. And we can
Right.
do it not out of punishment or out of,
Mhm.
I mean, we can certainly do it out of punishment if we want to. We can
Right.
certainly do it out of anger if we want to. We can certainly do it out of retaliation, but we can also just choose, hey, working
Yeah.
here no longer serves me.
Mhm.
So,
Right. Yes, right.
uh,
Doesn't serve my
and,
highest good.
you know,
Mhm.
as much as there are
Mm.
certain members of my family, as much as I love them, I really
Mhm.
limit how much I talk to them on the phone
Right. Right.
because where they are and I
Mm-hmm.
hold complete compassion for them and
Right.
allowing they are doing the best they can in a moment. They are where they are
Mm-hmm.
in their journey, but I can't live with that vibration for very long.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I can't even converse
Mm-hmm.
with that vibration for
Mm-hmm.
very long.
Right.
Um,
That doesn't
periodically,
serve your highest good.
no, and
It's
it's
not best for you.
and
Mm-hmm.
then there's part of that that's just because of those family values that
Mm-hmm.
I was given, or whatever, where it's just kind of easy, like you said, easy to slide back into that cream cheese with bagels every
Right.
day. It's, and
Yeah.
so I have to really be like, oh, I love you
Mm-hmm.
so much. I can only talk to you for 5 minutes for,
Right.
and there are days where I can talk with them longer. They're in a slightly different place,
Yeah.
but
Right.
you know, but being able to choose those and not from a, oh, you suck, but just,
Right.
I can't be in
Right.
that
Yep.
right
Yeah. A lot of people think, well, I have to. They're my family.
now.
Right.
Hard
I mean,
choices,
yeah.
especially when
Do
family
you really have to?
is, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and even when
Mm-hmm.
family is your highest value, do you really have to?
Right. Right. Yes. There are the same thing for me. There are just family members who I choose not to spend a lot of time with because, yeah, they always just go to this negative place, or they're complaining, or yeah. So, and I don't want
Yeah,
to live in that vibration.
or they're making choices that you just can't.
Right. So when you were talking, the word harmony came to me. I
Mm,
was thinking, I love your word peace. And I think that for me, it has to be a peaceful harmony. It's
harmony.
like whatever I'm choosing has to be harmonious with my values. It has to be in
Yes.
harmony with what does Victoria want? It has to be in harmony with my highest self, with what's best for me, what serves my highest good, all of those things. And I just realized, and maybe it's because so I'm a middle child, so and that's typical of a middle child. It's not always, but I found it true for me too. Is that I really want harmony with other
Mm,
people. That is a high value. And I think, so this is why I love, having circles, is because things come up for us when other people are talking. I mean, you didn't tell me, Victoria, what you need is harmony. But what happened in your conversation about your family, that word just came up for me.
yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's what I want with my landmate.
Yes.
I want not only harmony, I'm not feeling harmony within myself. Why is that? Because I don't have harmony with her. And I
Very
want to
true.
have harmony with her because my value is not to ignore myself. It's not to and I realize some of it, okay, is my 5-year-old self. And the other thing is, can we find a way?
I think you
Why?
can.
Yeah, why can't we? Why can't I hold that to be true? That yes, we could find a solution that would be good for everybody, where I can honor her and I can be honored, even because I've been told as a long-term visitor, I do have a voice, I do have control over my space, I can invite who I want to here. So that those things are actually printed on
Mm,
the long-term visitor agreement. And I don't want to say, well, it's on the agreement, come on now. I mean, I don't want that
no, 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 no,
attitude.
no.
Right. What I want is, I want to be in harmony with you. I don't want to be at odds with you. I don't want to be pushy with you. And I do want a place where, because I want to stay here, and I want to be able to come back. So I want to create relationships that are harmonious, and I want to be in harmony with this woman. And so I think that's the approach I'm going to take. I want to be in harmony with you. How can we do that?
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Wonderful. You're welcome. And I thank you, because I think that's a great kind of way to wrap up this thing. I want harmony with my body. I want harmony with my relationships. I want
Yes.
harmony with my world.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I'm going to pay attention to when things get out of tune.
Yes. Yes. When there's not harmony, there's actually, in music, there's discord, right?
Yes.
So
Cacophony.
there you go. Right. Just craziness. Yeah. Too much percussion or
Yeah.
whatever, or if it's off key, you hear it. And I think that's it. Even with vibration, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, if it's
Absolutely.
off key, we don't, that there's these conflicting vibrations that don't resonate. Well, as Bruce Lipton, he did that one example of when you drop water, drop a drop in a pool of water in one place, and then you drop it at another place. So it's different times and different uh, weights maybe. What happens is the vibrations, they butt up against each other and stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you put 2 drops of water at the very same time, what happens is that they blend together. The vibrations end up blending together.
Yes.
And that's what I want. I want to live harmoniously within myself and with others that I choose to live with and choose to circle with and have community with. So that's a high goal for me. And I love that I'm in vibration and harmony with you. I do. I love
Yes.
that so much.
I love it too, and I am
Mm-hmm.
so grateful you were willing to spend a full 2 hours with me today. And it's
Absolutely.
always amazing to me how fast this
Yes.
conversation goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it so, so, so much. And I
Me
got my own
too.
ahas and some good
Nice.
rememberings and some good validation of, really
Yes.
how many changes and how many choices I've made to come into
Mm-hmm.
harmony,
Yes.
and all of those pieces, and how many things I'm still,
Yeah.
as you, not course correcting,
Adjustment.
course adjustments, where it's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this thing I started was in alignment and
Right.
in harmony, and
Right.
starting to shift a little bit. What parts do I really still want and resonate, and which parts
Yes.
am I going to allow to fall away, shift,
Mm-hmm.
transform, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and allowing for transformation, allowing for, transmutation. We do it. The
Yes.
world does it. We're
Mm-hmm.
totally always in flux and always in change and always in transformation. We don't like
Right.
it
Yes.
that way
Yes.
because we
Mm-hmm.
like our boxes, we
Yes.
like our timelines, we
Yep.
like our knowns.
Yep.
But that's,
Yeah.
there are things that stay
Mm-hmm.
somewhat constant, but even, throughout time, if you look
Right.
back, you realize that constant shifted to a different constant.
Right. Yes. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I'm very honored to be part of I mean, you had this idea, you leaned in, you stepped into it. And I just feel so honored that you reached out to me and you're in some of your first steps in this new
Ah,
adventure. And
I'm
you
so
are totally
excited.
a natural at it,
I am in for the, I won't say for the first time, but in about 6 months, the
Mm-hmm.
highest level of enthusiasm I felt for anything right now. And
Nice.
my computer's like, we're going to die. We have no battery, which is funny because that's what happened yesterday to Lori. She's like,
Ah,
we really have to end.
yeah.
So
It's a
thank you.
sign.
Thank you,
Thank
universe,
you.
for the signal. It is time to end. Thank you, Victoria. I
Thank
appreciate it so
you.
much. And I hope
Yes.
everybody enjoyed it as much as we did.
Me too.
And,
Yes.
look forward to the next episode of Amongst Friends.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Love and light to you,
Yeah.
my dear friend.
Thank you. Take care, and we
Okay.
will talk
You
later.
too. Bye for now.
Oh, I should stop the recording. That would be helpful.